and coherent and everything else. Normally it's like live streams of one game or another, but I guess I can make a exception to the rule. Of course, there's always going to be goat, but I can find a spot for this, I guess. Then we'll talk about the main thing. The thing that you're watching this for. Alright, perfect. So, let's get to it. Charlie Kirk. So, apparently some 22-year-old kid named Tyler was responsible, or allegedly responsible, for the murder of Charlie. And it's tragic in a way. So here's my thoughts on the whole entire thing. Right? Starting from Charlie, the event, then Tyler. Because that's just how it usually pans out. Charlie Kirk was, still is, idolized by a few people who are basically offline trolls. That's the best way I can describe it. The incendiary, sometimes incendiary, most of the time incendiary language. Oh boy. Most of the time incendiary language used by Kirk was for rage baiting, which is basically the purposeful talking of controversial topics or viewpoints to encourage a volatile discourse, therefore rage baiting. That's my basic understanding of it. It's like debating, only except the end goal isn't consensus, but rather angry reactions. That's just how it goes. The fact of the matter is that unlike regular, trolling on forums and comment sections and whatnot, when you make your whole entire personality rage baiting, eventually that outward toxicity is going to build up and it's going to suck. And there's a goat. Go away. Actually, I'm going to take care of that real quick. Hey, dumbass. Go. This is what you want, right? This is what you want? No, no. Yeah. No. Get your dumbass over here. That was exhausting. So, like I was saying, when you troll enough people enough times where you're just constantly shutting people down over and over and over and over again in order to make your own talking points more valid, then eventually that anger is going to build up over time, and that's not healthy for anyone. It's not healthy for the creator, it's not healthy for the folks involved, it's not healthy for anyone. I know, my hair is just all over the place today. The very fact of the matter is that Kirk's vitriol and antagonistic nature, when in the public eye and during events, may put a target on his back. That's just the long and short of it. Can I adjust this? Oh, I am playing a very dangerous game there. I have a thing about like seeing my elbows. Not important. So after a while, this kind of weird dynamic just continually builds up. And eventually, all that anger, all that hatred, all that toxicity is built up and spreads out all over the place. Either in reactions, commentary, posts, tweets, snaps, what have you. And eventually, it spreads indirectly from the source to the platforms to the external audiences. Now, I want you to keep that in mind. So, platforms like YouTube Shorts, TikTok, Instagram Shorts, any short form video platform, the algorithm randomizes the content based on the content watched, the average watch time of said content, as well as the likes. Well, that's how TikTok's works. I'm not sure how YouTube's or Instagram's or Snaps work. Presumably in the same vein. So, imagine if that content at a certain point reaches younger minds, folks in their early 20s, 18 to 25 range. Now, the mentality of the 18 to 25 is more impulsive, more chaotic, so to speak. Gradually, it tapers off at around 25. Then from 25 to 30, it's not as. But again, it's dependent on the person. So when he finally got to the point of the Utah event, and Tyler was up on that roof, allegedly, and he was waiting for the right moment, the very right moment. So you had to imagine that Tyler had a phone or tablet or some kind of listening device that allowed him to kind of figure out where everything was going. Obviously, what was happening right in front of him is going to be a delay. So not only was he watching on the device, but he was also listening from the loudspeaker. And he was waiting for one specific moment. One. And he chose that moment right after Charlie said the word violence. But that's not the point. The point isn't glorifying the actions of one hyper motivated individual to end the life of another who was simply just speaking their point of view. It could have been political violence. But it wasn't the act of an entire party. It was the act of a single individual who wasn't working with anyone, who wasn't part of a broader deep state attempt to distract from what's going on. The timing, yeah, it's a little bit iffy. The timing between the release of the birthday book and the drawing and everything else, it's just coincidence. Now, you could draw on it as much as you want. Be like, hey, well, what if Tyler was in contact with this person who worked for this agency who was created by this person in Trump's cabinet? Nah, this was just a random ass 22-year-old who gradually became more and more politically just focused as time went on. And then he just kind of fucking snapped and did his thing. But it's not the who or what or why. Because violence against another person, again, in any capacity, is outright no. Yes, we glorify it in sports like boxing, MMA, and pretty much every fucking sport there is, because that's just how humans are. We're just naturally drawn to chaos. We are the rednecks of the universe because we're like, oh, shine thing. Violence is just in our nature. There's no getting around it. But that's like a whole entire thought storm for another day. What the common narrative that I'm seeing right now among late night hosts of media, everything is that political violence isn't good. They're trying to reframe this as a liberal did this. But what if Tyler were a conservative? What if it were proven that he were conservative? And that he didn't agree with Charlie's views to such a point that he decided to take the actions that he did. Then it becomes all about the timeline. Okay, well, when did he do this? 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 But those are not the right questions to ask. That is not the right breadcrumb to be following. Because the media will always try to regain control over the narrative. Because the media is famously controlled by 6 or 7 corporations. Basically, everything is linked to 6 or 7 giant corporations who decide, like, hey, let's do this. And so they've been screwing around with us. So it's basically Cyberpunk 2077, as well as the Alien franchise, where corporations are gradually taking over society. Blah, 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 blah. Not important, not important, not important. The important thing is that this happened not because of a corporation or a party, but because of the content that was being put out there and the reaction of a mind finally not being able to take enough. Finally not being able to handle it all. So they took matters into their own hands when they saw that no one else was doing anything. The act of an individual does not necessarily represent the act of an entire party. Politics is all about non-violent movements. Most of the time. Unless it's war. Then you know what? Fuck it. All rules go out the window. Most of the time. Charlie's death was very much part of a much larger domino effect. It started long before he decided to get into rage baiting. It decided it it started with Columbine, right? Once that happened and once it became widespread, then that gradual effect came into focus. But then it tapered off as far as media coverage was concerned. Then, for no reason whatsoever, with the act of Tyler, it's come back into focus. Now, the usual cycle for this is that first, gun violence is talked about, then there are bills proposed, then lobbyists get involved, special interests, and the bill is killed off, and not much happens. Yes, there are some changes made, but not enough. But again, that's not the right viewpoint. The right viewpoint is this, or rather, the correct view is this. It's all about the moment leading up to the action. Words affect aim or direction. Aim leads to action, which was the finger on the trigger. Trigger to hammer, hammer to bullet, bullet to barrel, barrel to target. But you have so much time between the words that you choose and the moment of action. Because once that moment of action pops up, from the action to the barrel, that is less than the snap of a finger, less than the blink of an eye. So what can possibly be done to mitigate or indeed completely negate the action phase of it? Because had Charlie not said what he had been saying for that amount of time, then Tyler wouldn't have been so motivated to, put it in it bluntly, give Charlie the dirt net. Sorry, my brain's running on like fumes right now, so that's like all over the place. It's all about presentation. It's all about not creating conflict through words, but creating understanding through the proper structuring of words. Now, I could stand up here and like trash talk Charlie all I want, like, because I personally don't agree with what he's saying, but I'm not going to. Why? There's no point. The man is already in the ground. Everything that's being shown is from the past. There's no arguing with an echo of a person who is no longer around. All you can do is focus on what's important to you. Not to the rest of the world, not to the person openly screaming about things they don't agree with because they don't understand. They can't wrap their head around the concepts that are being presented to them. Because from that misunderstanding, from that like inherent anger from confronting the unknown because they're afraid of what they are seeing. But what's the best way to conquer that fear? It's to learn more about it. It's to learn more about it, understand it, try to see it from all different points of view. And yes, the correct counter-argument to that is, so you're going to try to understand a murderer's point of view? No. They did what they did. They committed a crime. Regardless of the source, they need to pay for that crime. Whether it was intentional, unintentional, direct, or indirect. As a consequence of those actions, they still need to pay for the crime. because that's what society does. We recycle the wrongdoers of our society and turn them into good doers or do gooders or however the fuck it is. Tyler will most likely be made into a half a folk hero, half a villain. Charlie is already being made out to be both a martyr and a sacrifice, as well as a villain and a legend. Because the legends never die, but apparently Charlie did. Ha ha ha, joke, yay. Anyways, beyond the scope of the political rhetoric is the fact that his family is being used as a prop to humanize the man. And he was human. He did have a life outside of the whole entire rage baiting thing. He had a family, he had parents, a wife, kids, and those are things to remember. Because every action that you take affects, directly or indirectly or in orbit, the people around you, especially the person of which those actions are including. Now, here's what I'm thinking is going to happen based on everything. There's going to be a media circus involved around Tyler if he, in fact, did do it. Because at the moment, they're trying to pin the tail on anyone at this point so that way they have a target. Because currently, they don't. They just have circumstantial evidence and a bunch of different things. It could be a goose chase. It could not be. It could be the golden egg that people are looking for. The point is how everything plays out. Because how everything plays out from this point forward is going to determine the next sequence of events. Whether it's going to be retaliatory, eye for an eye. Okay, so you took one of our voices, we're going to take one of yours. Or if there's going to be some mutual understanding. That's the important thing to note here. Because again, most people, there are three different viewpoints right now because of everyone still processing this whole entire horrific thing. There are those that are happy he's gone, that are just making fun of him, making memes and everything. There are those that are sad he's gone, making posts about everything. And then there are those who are trying to understand, that have a middle ground between both the good and the bad. Now, these three sides are going to be very, very prevalent. If you care about the whole entire thing, cool. If you don't, cool. But it's all about the events that are going to follow over the next couple of weeks. The rhetoric being used, the way the late night hosts are going to start monologuing, the guests that they bring on, because everything is connected at some point or another. Pay very, very close attention to the pattern, both to the side you're rooting for and to the side that you are ideologically or politically opposed to. Remember, we're all in this together, so we need to keep the level of crazy down. And how we do that is by understanding that which we fear. Because what is fear? Of the thing we don't understand. We could look at a police officer, a firefighter, a clown, an octopus, a shark, and inherently have a definite mistrust of it, because we tend to popularize the negative aspects of those professions, of those creatures, of those occupations. But once we understand that, hey, they're not scary, they just have to do their job. And once they're off that job, then they're just kind of doing their thing. The point here is that everyone's trying to figure this whole entire thing out, myself included. If you watch the video, the one where it shows the shot, and you watch his body freeze up, and you watch his face as much as you can identify it. He was terrified in his last moments. He was calling out to his mom, his dad, whoever his comfort parental figure was. The way that his arms were, fetal position, or semi-fetal. He immediately went back to those moments in the womb when his body was being formed back to a place of safety, because his brain was like, oh, what do I do now? Pay attention to everything. Theorize what's about to happen. And just watch. And from there, you can formulate your point of action. Not against those that you find rub you the wrong way or go against your own personal grain, but in trying to understand and find the middle ground for proper communication. Alright, I've yapped on enough. Hold on. I didn't even check the chat. Top chat, live chat. Okay, cool. No one said anything. Weird. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll try to do more of these live streams later on. Just a lot going on. So here's a short dance to make up for all the boring shit I was talking about. There you go. Alright, sorry, I had to get some randomness out of my brain. So, how do I usually end these things? So, thank you so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video like a beast. Peace! Oh, I fucked that up so bad, didn't I? I did. But, my point still stands. It really does still stand. Alright, that's it for me.